Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajikacharya Ashtotar the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajikacharya Ashtotar the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On this 10th day of December 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are beginning a new chapter, chapter 16, the divine and demoniac natures, on page 615. So we'll just chant the first verse. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Abhayam Sattva Sangshuddhir Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi Dhanam Damash Chayagyascha Svadhyayas Tapa Arjavam. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Abhayam Sattva Sangshuddhir Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi Dhanam Damascha Yagyascha Svadhyayas Tapa Arjavam. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Abhayam Sattva Sangshuddhir Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi Dhanam Damascha Yagyascha Svadhyayas Tapa Arjavam. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Abhayam Sattva Sangshuddhir Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi Dhanam Damascha Yagyascha Svadhyayas Tapa Arjavam. Go ahead, Tapas. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Abhayam Sattva Sangshuddhir Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi Dhanam Damascha Yagyascha Svadhyayas Tapa Arjavam. Go ahead. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Abhayam Sattva Sangshuddhir Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi Dhanam Damascha Yagyascha Svadhyayas Tapa Arjavam. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Abhayam Sattva Sangshuddhir Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi Dhanam Damascha Yagyascha Svadhyayas Tapa Arjavam. Ladies. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Abhayam Sattva Sangshuddhir Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi Dhanam Damascha Yagyascha Svadhyayas Tapa Arjavam. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Abhayam Sattva Sangshuddhir Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi Dhanam Damascha Yagyascha Svadhyayas Tapa Arjavam. You can try. Go ahead. Go ahead. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Abhayam Sattva Sangshuddhir Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi Dhanam Damascha Yagyascha Svadhyayas Tapa Arjavam. Anyone online?
Shri Bhagavanu Vacha
Shri Bhagavanu Vacha
Abhyayam Sattva Sangshuddhir
Abhayam Sattva Sangshuddhir
Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi
Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi
Dhanam Damascha Yagnascha
Dhanam Damascha Yagyascha
Svadhyayas Tapa Arjavam.
Svadhyayas Tapa Arjavam. Okay, I'll chant the other two verses and I'll go over the first word by words for the first one. Ahimsa satyam akrodhas tyaga shantir paishanam taya bhutesvaloluptvam madavang vira chapalam tejakshama duti saucham abdroho natimanita bhavanti sampadham daivim abhijatasya bharata. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, Abhayam, fearlessness, sattva shuddhi, purification of one's existence, jnana, in knowledge, yoga, of linking up, vyavastitihi, the situation, dhanam, charity, damaha, controlling the mind, cha, and yajna, performance of sacrifice, cha, and svadhyayaha, study of Vedic literature, tapaha, austerity, arjavam, simplicity. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, nonviolence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquillity, aversion to fault-finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy and from the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. Purport. So we'll take this purport a little at a time. It's quite lengthy. In the beginning of the 15th chapter, the banyan tree of this material world was explained. The extra roots coming out of it were compared to the activities of the living entities, some auspicious, some inauspicious. In the 9th chapter, also, the devas, or godly, and the asuras, the ungodly, or demons, were explained. Now, according to Vedic rites, activities in the mode of goodness are considered auspicious for progress on the path of liberation. And such activities are known as daivi prakriti, transcendental by nature. Those who are situated in the transcendental nature make progress on the path of liberation. For those who are acting in the modes of passion and ignorance, on the other hand, there is no possibility of liberation. Either they will have to remain in this material world as human beings, or they will descend among the species of animals or even lower life forms. In this 16th chapter, the Lord explains both the transcendental nature and its attendant qualities, and the demoniac nature and its qualities. He also explains the advantages and disadvantages of these qualities. The word abhijatasya, in reference to one born of transcendental qualities or godly tendencies, is very significant. To beget a child in a godly atmosphere is known in the Vedic scriptures as garbhadhana sanskara. If the parents want a child in the godly qualities, they should follow the 10 principles recommended for the social life of the human being. In the Bhagavad Gita, we have studied also before that sex life for begetting a good child is Krishna himself. Sex life is not condemned, provided the process is used in Krishna consciousness. Those who are in Krishna consciousness, at least, should not beget children like cats and dogs, but should beget them so that they may become Krishna conscious after birth. That should be the advantage of children born of a father and mother absorbed in Krishna consciousness. The social institution known as Varnashram Dharma, the institution dividing society into 4 divisions of spiritual life and 4 occupational divisions or castes, is not meant to divide human society according to birth. Such divisions are in terms of educational qualifications. They are to keep the society in a state of peace and prosperity. The qualities mentioned herein are explained as transcendental qualities meant for making a person progress in spiritual understanding so that he can get liberated from the material world. So now he's going to start explaining the qualities in terms of the Varnashram. In the Varnashram institution, the sannyasi, or the person in the renounced order of life, is considered to be the head or the spiritual master of all the other social statuses and orders. A Brahmin is considered to be the spiritual master of the 3 other sections of a society, namely the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. But a sannyasi who is on the top of the institution is considered to be the spiritual master of the Brahmins also. For a sannyasi, the first qualification should be fearlessness. Because a sannyasi has to be alone without any support or guarantee of support, he has simply to depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one thinks, after I leave my connections, who will protect me, he should not accept the renounced order of life. One must be fully convinced that Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his localized aspect as Paramatma, is always within, that he is seeing everything, and he always knows what one intends to do. One must thus have firm conviction that Krishna, as the Paramatma, will take care of a soul surrendered to him. I shall never be alone, one should think. Even if I live in the darkest regions of a forest, I shall be accompanied by Krishna, and he will give me all protection. That conviction is called abhayam, fearlessness. This state of mind is necessary for a person in the renounced order of life. Om jnana timirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshur unmilitam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this is they're all significant chapters, but I was always especially attracted to this chapter, and we'll find at the end there's some very, very essential instructions. This is a short chapter, but very, very important. So here Krishna is describing the different qualities of different members of the varnashram system, especially the varnas. Especially beginning with the ashram, actually. And he begins with the sannyasi, as Krishna, as Prabhupada explained in the purport, the last part of the purport we read so far. The sannyasi is said to be the spiritual master, or the spiritual head, of all the other varnas and ashrams. And even, as Prabhupada mentions, even the Brahmins will take instruction from the sannyasis, because the sannyasi really has to be a Brahman Vaishnav at a high level of renunciation. And as mentioned, it's all very logical here, abhayam. Now one thing, this abhayam is very important for all of us trying to practice Krishna consciousness. Abhayam means fearlessness. And you notice Srimati Radharani? She has that hand up, that right hand. That is called the Abhaya Dan Mudra. A mudra is a hand gesture. We use them all the time. Really? You know, or, are you kidding me? You know. Or how about this one? Can you show me? Someone said they come for the first time and they stand in the back there and says, what's this? I'm not, I'm taking part. I'm just going to check it out, And then there's this one. Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, So, but this one is Abhay Dan. Abhay means fearlessness. Dan means gift. The gift of fearlessness. Srimati Radharani is saying to us, without verbal, that's the whole idea of the mudra. You don't have to say anything, but you still can speak. Just surrender. Just have faith in us. Everything will be fine. Don't be afraid. And if you study the 6 elements of surrender, it's called Sharanagati. Sharanagati is the 6 elements. So one of them is, or like 2 of them, is Rakshishati Vishvaso and Goptat Vevananang Tata. So Rakshishati is conviction that Krishna will protect, exactly what the sannyasi needs, and maintain, because you also have to eat, you have to, so the sannyasis traditionally they beg, they have their little water pot, and they won't beg. I mean, there's one system called madhukari, where you don't want to become too dependent on one person to feed you, although, generally if they're pious, they'll give you whatever you want, So you go to different homes and you get a little from each home. And that's also blessing the person there. You may spend a few minutes with giving spiritual instruction, that's important. So, but you have to have confidence that Krishna will protect and that Krishna will maintain. So those are 2 elements of surrender for any Vaishnava. But especially the sannyasi, who is characterized by living as austerely as possible. The perfect examples were the 6 Goswamis, the prime disciples of Lord Chaitanya. And there's a beautiful verse describing that. Tyaktva turnam ashesha mandalapati shrening sadat tuchavat. Bhutva dina ganeshiko katonaya kopina kantashvito. Gopi bhavada samata abdalhadi kallola magno mahur vande rupa sanatano raghuyago Sri Jiva Gopalago. So this is a song by Srinivasacharya, very famous. And in this verse, the fourth verse, they're all very wonderful. He's describing this renunciation, especially of Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami. They were in a situation, if they hadn't met Lord Chaitanya and they just continued, where Raghunath would have been like a billionaire today. His father and his uncle were vast landowners in Bengal, and his uncle was called Hiranya Majumdar. Hiranya's gold, you know. So he was all set. He was the only son of his very wealthy father. They were Vaishnavas. Don't get me wrong, they're Vaishnavas, but they had all this wealth. And they got him married to a very chaste and beautiful lady and everything, you know. But he had met Lord Chaitanya and he had met Lord Nityananda, and he didn't want any part of it. You know, he wanted to go and join Lord Chaitanya in Puri, and he was in Bengal. So anyway, but he couldn't. He had this position, and they knew that he wanted to leave, so they had guards at night, you know, to make sure. Anyway, he was inspired. He helped Nityananda put on this festival, this Chittadahi festival. It's very famous. They still celebrate it, I think, in June sometime, you know. A chipped rice and yogurt festival, you know, because he had access to wealth. So he said, okay, I'll finance it. Hundreds of Brahmins came, and they were sitting. There was no room on the bank of the river, so some was sitting in the river, in the shallow part, and taking the river. So he pleased Lord Chaitanya very much, and Lord Chaitanya said, don't worry, it won't be long before you'll be able to go join Lord Chaitanya. So he did. Eventually got out. He kind of lied to his spiritual master, but that didn't matter because he had his mind fixed on Lord Chaitanya. And he took off in the forest, didn't eat for like days, just kept his mind fixed on going to Puri. Finally reached there, you know. And he never actually spoke directly to Lord Chaitanya. He was so humble. Lord Chaitanya put him in charge of Swarup Damodar, his intimate associate, and trained him up. And he gave him his personal Govardhana Shila that he had gotten from Govardhana. Shila is a stone, and it represents the whole Govardhana hill. Lord Chaitanya gave him that and the garland of Gunja that he had. So, and he was trained up, and then it describes how he proceeded to increase his renunciation more and more. You know, the main thing is, well, how are you going to eat? So he was begging. He would go to the steps of the Jagannath temple, and there would be so many Brahmins coming and going. And that temple is famous for feeding as many pilgrims as come. You know, thousands may come. They always have the kitchen going. You know, so he was getting fed that way. And so Lord Chaitanya asked Swarup Damodar, well, how was he eating? So he described it. He said, oh, that's very good. That's very good. But then Lord Chaitanya, he would go to the temple all the time, and after a while, he didn't see Raghunath anymore. And he says, well, what's he doing now? You know, so actually, first he was accepting a monthly stipend from his father. You know, his father. Well, okay, you know, I'll send him some money. Maybe he'll come back. So he would accept it, and he would put on a feast for all the sannyasis in Puri. You know, it had maybe 100 sannyasis. Lord Chaitanya was there, and it was, you know. But then after a while, he stopped offering that feast, and Lord said, well, what's he up to? He said, so he's standing on the steps, and he's just eating. All right, that's very good. He's very renounced, you know. Because then he said, well, Raghunath thought, I'm in sannyasi, and I'm accepting this generous stipend every month from my father. That's not proper, you know, so he stopped. But then he stopped standing there, and Lord Chaitanya said, well, what's he doing now? You know, how is he eating? He said, well, you know, every day they make tons, I don't know how many pounds, you know, up to tons of rice and everything to feed all the pilgrims who come from the temple. So some of it, you know, they don't get so many pilgrims, so what are you going to do? You can't, there's no refrigerator. So they throw it into the field, and maybe the cows can eat it or something. But after a while, this part of it gets a little rotten, even the cows won't touch it. That's the rice that Raghunath was going, getting it, washing it, and he was eating that. That's as renounced as he can get, right? So Lord Chaitanya said, oh, this is so great. So he went to Raghunath Dasa's little hut that he was staying in, and he said, I heard you were eating this great prasadam. Well, you haven't invited me? And Raghunath wasn't saying anything, you know. So Lord Chaitanya found out where it wasn't. He said, "Oh, that's not fit for you." He says, "Why not? It's Mahaprasadam from Jagannath, you know." So he's just blessing him that way. So Raghunath Das eventually, you know, he stayed there for years, and he witnessed Lord Chaitanya's Antya Leela. And he was an important source of information for Krishnadas Kaviraj in Vrindavan when he wrote the CC. So when Lord Chaitanya finally left his body after 48 years and 12 years in Puri, Raghunath said, I can't take the separation. So he wanted to go to Vrindavan to jump off Govardhan Hill and commit suicide. So he got there and he met Rupa and Sanat Goswami. He told him his plan. He said, no, you can't. Don't do that, you know. We want to hear Lord Chaitanya's Antya Leela, which you witnessed, you know. So every day he agreed, okay, I agree. So every day for like 3 hours on Radhakund Bank, he would hold, you know, a description of Lord Chaitanya's Leela, the kind you read in the Antya Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So he was the epitome of renunciation. But any sannyasi must be fearless, because you don't really, you know, you're leaving all of your protections, you know, the family and all these connections. You're just relying on God. So that's it, the first thing. And Prabhupada certainly showed that. He took sannyas, and by the way, you know, I don't know how many of you have access to the Vedas. Not the Vedas online. That's great, because that has Prabhupada's books, but there's so much more in the Vedas that you can download onto your computer. And they have some writings of ISKCON devotees. And Bhakti Vikas Swami has a few books there. And he wrote a book about Srila Prabhupada. I forget what it's called. But he's a really good writer, and he has one chapter that's just focusing on Prabhupada's getting on the boat and coming to America. He's meditating on that, and it's really good. I highly recommend it. And Prabhupada showed this throughout his whole life. You know, he actually showed this fearlessness. There's a very nice pastime where, you know, after starting ISKCON, eventually he went back to India, and at some points, you know, he had his leaders with him, and they were walking in Calcutta. And they came across this, I think I saw it when I was there, but those who know, Victoria's mansion or something? There's like a big, I don't know, maybe it's a government building now? But you've seen it. It's very large, and it was built by the British, right? And very high. And in honor of Queen Victoria or something? Yeah. So Prabhupada was there when they were building it, and, you know, when he was a kid, when he was a child. And they had all of the scaffolding on the outside. You know how they build like that. So he saw that, and I don't know, maybe he was 10 years old. You know, he climbed up the scaffolding to the top. And as they were walking past it, he told them that. And Brahmananda, somebody, one of his main disciples, "Oh, Prabhupada, you were so brave." Prabhupada said, "Yes, and I'm still brave. Otherwise, how could I come to America alone with no money, you know?" and on that ship. So that's the first quality, is this fearlessness. And so we read that Abhayam. So okay, so let's go on, unless there's any questions. So let's see, fearlessness and purification. So that's the next one, purification of one's existence. Sattva Sang Shuddhir. Then he, the sannyasi, this is all about the sannyasi, has to purify his existence. There are so many rules and regulations to be followed in the renounced order of life. Most important of all, a sannyasi is strictly forbidden to have any intimate relationship with a woman. He is even forbidden to talk with a woman in a secluded place. Lord Chaitanya was an ideal sannyasi, and when he was at Puri, his feminine devotees could not even come near to offer their respects. I think that should probably be female devotees. I'm going to note that, because I'm not saying it's female. Anyway, it's obvious what he means. They were advised to bow down from a distant place. This is not a sign of hatred for women as a class, but it is the stricture imposed on the sannyasi not to have close connections with women. One has to follow the rules and regulations of a particular status of life in order to purify his existence. For a sannyasi, intimate relations with women and possession of wealth for sense gratification are strictly forbidden. Let's see. The ideal sannyasi was Lord Chaitanya himself, and we can learn from his life that he was very strict in regards to women. Although he is considered to be the most liberal incarnation of Godhead, accepting the most fallen conditioned souls, he strictly followed the rules and regulations of the sannyas order of life in connection with association with women. One of his personal associates, named Chota Haridas, was associated with Lord Chaitanya along with his other confidential personal associates. But somehow or other, this Chota Haridas looked lustily at a young woman, and Lord Chaitanya was so strict that he at once rejected him from the society of his personal associates. Lord Chaitanya said, for a sannyasi or anyone who is aspiring to get out of the clutches of material nature and trying to elevate himself to the spiritual nature and go back home, back to Godhead, for him, looking toward material possessions and women for sense gratification, not even enjoying them, but just looking toward them with such a propensity, is so condemned that he had better commit suicide before experiencing such illicit desires. So these are the processes for purification. The next item is Jnana Yoga Vyavastiti, being engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. Sannyasi life is meant for distributing knowledge to the householders and others who have forgotten their real life of spiritual advancement. A sannyasi is supposed to beg from door to door for his livelihood, but this does not mean that he is a beggar. Humility is also one of the qualifications of a transcendentally situated person, and that of sheer humility, the sannyasi goes from door to door, not exactly for the purpose of begging, but to see the householders and awaken them to Krishna consciousness. This is the duty of a sannyasi. If he is actually advanced and so ordered by his spiritual master, he should preach Krishna consciousness with logic and understanding. And if one is not so advanced, he should not accept the renounced order of life. But even if one has accepted the renounced order of life without sufficient knowledge, he should engage himself fully in hearing from a bona fide spiritual master to cultivate knowledge. A sannyasi or one in the renounced order of life must be situated in fearlessness, sattva sangshuddhi, purity, and jnana yoga, or knowledge. So those are three qualities, especially of the sannyasi. And next he's going to the qualities of the Vaishya. Grihastha, those who are especially meant for charity. The next item is charity. Charity is meant for the householders. The householders should earn a livelihood by an honorable means and spend 50% of their income to propagate Krishna consciousness all over the world. Thus, a householder should give in charity to institutional societies that are engaged in that way. Charity should be given to the right receiver. There are different kinds of charity, as will be explained later on. Charity in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Charity in the mode of goodness is recommended by the scriptures, but charity in the modes of passion and ignorance is not recommended because it is simply a waste of money. Charity should be given only to propagate Krishna consciousness all over the world. That is charity in the mode of goodness. Now, as far as charity goes, this is we see that Srila Prabhupada depended on that when he came. He's a sannyasi, so how's he going to live from day to day? So first when he came, you study the Lilamrita, Prabhupada Lilamrita. So he immediately went to Butler, Pennsylvania, where he had a connection. Now, how did he get that connection? Well, in India, he was preaching there. He was trying to fulfill the order of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in India at first. That's why he was printing Back to Godhead magazine in English and distributing it himself, you know. And then he describes in the Lilamrita how he met a friend who said, you know, it's nice you're distributing these magazines. It's actually like a newspaper print thing that he was doing, you know, 8 or 10 pages a month. And but maybe you can write some books. They'll last for a longer time. These papers will get thrown away, but the books will be kept, you know. So Prabhupada took that to heart. And then he started his project of printing the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now just imagine what, you know, difficulty. He had no one helping him really. So he was typing on a manual typewriter, an ancient manual typewriter with 2 fingers. He's typing out the manuscript for the first canto. And then somehow or other he would go out with the magazines and try to raise some money so that he could print the first, you know, and pay the composer. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it was actually, because I had, you know, something to do with typesetting all these years also. And, sorry about that. So it was a physical type. You hit the key and a little block would fall down with the letter on it and then come down, you know. Now it's all electronic. Anyway, so he was paying the printer little by little as he got the money, you know, and gradually he put together the first canto. And it was the first volume of the first canto. He printed that, and with that he went out and would collect more money, you know. And it took him 4 years to print those 3 volumes, you know, up until 1965. He started in like 61, you know. But he got it done. And he felt that once he had those volumes, he had some real ammunition. And he purposely put everything in there. Even if you just read the first canto, you'll find that there's plenty of instruction on how to be a devotee, you know. In fact, there's a section of the second chapter of the first canto, which Prabhupada would often quote. I think it's like text 6 through text 21. That's like 16 verses. And it has a complete lesson on Bhakti Yoga in there. And I had the idea after I read that, because, you know, Prabhupada put extensive commentary in each verse, you know, that the speakers of the Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami and Sutta Goswami, and those who, they knew that these Kali Yugites, you know, there's even the verse, Prayanalpaya sabya kalavasmin yugejana manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya upadruta. For the most part, prayana means they don't live very long. You know, we think, oh, if someone lives to 100, that's nothing compared to the previous ages. Just in Dwapara Yuga, a little over 5,000 years ago, the standard age was 1,000 years. And before that it was 10,000, before the 100,000. You know, it's hard to imagine. But so that we don't live very long, that's the first thing. Manda, we're lazy, generally, the Kali Yugites, in the matter of spiritual, ambition. I mean, you can look around you, you know. I mean, this is a great turnout for me, and I know there's people online, but you go to the movie house, there's probably 1,000 people there, you know. So anyway, manda matayo, and if you are interested, then you're misguided, because there's so many cheating yogis around, you know, ready to cheat you. So-called spiritualists. Manda bhagya, unfortunate in many ways, and you're always disturbed. So this is like a characteristic. So knowing that, the speakers of the Bhagavatam said, well, okay, look, let's put everything, you know, enough in the first 2 chapters, so even if they get that far, they'll have a complete lesson in Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada would speak often on those verses that I just mentioned, 1 to 6 through 1 to 21. If you have the Bhagavatam at home, you can check it out. Or not, if you don't have it at home, just check out Vedas IO. There's a whole website with all the books on it. And it's a complete lesson on Dharma. That is what is needed. That's the problem in this age. People are adharmic. Without Dharma, human life is no better than animal life. There's a book, I haven't read the book, but just the name of the book is so enlivening. Hitopadesh means instructions for everyone's benefit. Hita, it means welfare. And one of the verses there describes this. He says, Ahara ninda bhayamaita nangsha samanya netat pashabhe naranam. Dharmo hitesham adhiko vishesho dharme nihina pashabhe samana. So we share 4 basic functions with the animals. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending, you know. So what distinguishes us from the animal? What's the distinction? Dharma. Dharma hitesham adhiko vishesho. That's the quality of human life that makes us more than just, you know, human animals. 2-legged animals. Dvipada pashu, it's called. But dharma nihina, without dharma, then human life isn't really above the animal platform. It may be very polished, eating, you know, restaurants, fancy thing, you know, and eating and sleeping, nice bedstead, mating, beautiful bed, whatever. And of course defending, oh yes, we have so many nuclear weapons, you know. But it's no more than animal life. So what is that dharma? Remember Arjun's question at the beginning, or his verse of surrender in the 2nd chapter. After explaining why he didn't want to fight, no way he could kill Bhishma Dev and Drona. They were his worshipable superiors, a guru and a grandfather, plus all his blood relatives and marriage relatives. So he says that, who cares? I don't care about the kingdom. Even if I win the battle, you know, we win the battle, the spoils will be soaked with the blood of the people I love. Who cares? I'd rather just go off to the forest and become a beggar, you know. So, of course, Krishna said, no, you can't. You know, get up and fight. You're not suited to that. So anyway, eventually he just sat down and said, "No, Govinda, I shall not fight." But then he surrendered to Krishna. Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava prichami tvam dharma samudacheta. Yakstreyak shandishtitam bruhitam me shishasteham shadimam tvam papannam. This is a very exemplary verse, because really, as human beings, we have to reach that point where we don't really know what's best for us. We find ourselves at an impasse in our lives, and we come in touch with this knowledge, and we realize, well, I really have to concentrate on this knowledge, because this will give me the instruction by which I know who I am, I know what the goal of life is, and I know how to achieve it. You see? So Arjuna is surrendering here. He says, Karpanya dosho, this miserly weakness. Karpanya comes from kripana. Karpanya apahata svabhava. My svabhava, my nature as a kshatriya, it was very heroic kshatriya, he'd already proved that, has been taken away by this miserly weakness because of who was on the other side. Prichami tvam dharma samudacheta. I am bewildered about what my real dharma is. So now, yakshe yaksyan nishtitam bruhitam. Please tell me for certain how I can achieve my real welfare. This idea of shreya, as opposed to prayas, the contrast. Shreyas and prayas. Prayas is immediate benefit, like children, right? Even the first day of school. No, I don't want to go to school. I'm busy playing here. I got my toy soldiers here, or whatever, Even Prabhupada, I didn't want to go to school, at the first day of school. and so he would bargain with his father. He said, I'll go tomorrow. And so it's okay. So his father was very, solicitous of him. His mother saw it was a nonsense, so I guess they do that. She hired someone, someone who would take him and drag him to school, So he went to school. And of course, eventually he did very well in school. He went to college and everything. But it's an example of our mentality of what's immediately pleasing to my senses, or maybe a little bit. I have to work for it. But still, it's for my senses. But it's nothing for my eternal benefit. You're not thinking of the soul. So Arjuna says, okay, I don't know what's really the best thing for me. So he's surrendering to Krishna. I'm no longer in the role of your friend, because speaking friend to friend, Prabhupada says you'll never get anywhere. You just argue and, eventually sit down, let's just watch TV. So that's not going to work. So so he says, Shishya steham. I am now your shishya, not just your friend, because they had a very intimate, friendly relation. Shishya teham sharimam tvam papannam. I surrender to you, now you please instruct me. And Prabhupada points out in I think the purport to that verse, and maybe in lectures I heard, the word shishya is so important because it has every Sanskrit is such a wonderful language. Each word has a root, as you probably know. You learn as those who in India. So what's the root of the word shishya is shas, and shas is there also in shastra, which is what? A weapon, and shastra, which is a book that you agree to be controlled. Shastra means to be controlled by. So you agree to let this be your control. At the end of this chapter, Krishna talks about the importances of Shastra and accepting it as our pramana, our evidence that we trust as guidance in our life. That's really what we're doing here. And you can see how important that is. Nowadays, with all the internet and all the social media, you can get into fall into all kinds of misinformation, disinformation, and now you're accepting this and conspiracy theory and so forth. So there's no standard, and people don't know, and all kinds of lies can become influential in your life that you lead. So the source of truth that you can trust. That's why it's so important. Krishna he reiterates, he's our best friend. He doesn't have anything to gain by us by fooling us and bringing us into his service. It's to our benefit to serve him, to think about him, to glorify him, and to go back home, back to Godhead. He's already got millions and trillions of servants up there, but we're the ones who are the problem because we're not serving. We're suffering down here. So he makes an effort, sometimes comes himself, very rarely. Once every, how often does Krishna himself in his two-handed form come to the earth? Does anyone remember? Once in a day of Brahma. About how many years is that? 2,000? Not quite. 8,640,000,000. That's the day of Brahma, 24-hour day of Brahma. And that's once Krishna comes personally. So now just see how fortunate we are. Compared to 5,000 years, what's 8 billion? It's like less than the snap of a figure. It's like yesterday. And even better, Lord Chaitanya comes only 500 years ago. That's Krishna also. So here we are. We have a chance. We have the books. We have the representative of Krishna, and we should cash in the lottery ticket. Go back home, back to Godhead. So to understand our good fortune and be thankful, gratitude. Those of us, when you join the ashram and you become serious, then there's Mangalarti. Mangalarti is at 4:30 every morning. You're all invited. And it's very auspicious, the auspicious time of day, the early morning, the Brahma Muhurta time. So the very first line of that prayer, there's a prayer called the Gurubhashtaka, written by Srinivasacharya. Sangsara dava nalalita loka tranaya karunya ganaganatvam. Those two lines describe how the spiritual master is just like a cloud full of mercy that's saving us from the blazing fire of material life. Samsara, birth, old age, disease, and death. Birth, old age, disease, and death. How many times have we been through that in so many species of life? We try to enjoy here, but it's really dukkhalayam ashashvatam. It's a place of misery. So, but the spiritual master is raining down the mercy in the form of the holy name, of course, in that instruction, and all of this knowledge that he's giving us, and his own association, so that we can practice Krishna consciousness and start to feel that the fire of material life is banking, and we have a way of getting free. So what the natural attitude or feeling should be one of thankfulness, gratitude. And that gratitude should impel the impetus to serve and ultimately surrender. And that's what we're trying to do here. So Prabhupada gave us that. And part of, and he showed the qualities of this, the sannyasi, he exemplified them. So the charity, now real, pious householders, those who are also Vaishnavas, can be totally Vaishnavas, then they're eager to give charity, to give to the Vaishnavas and for Krishna, because they have a debt. If you get wealthy in this world, well, where did it come from? It came ultimately from Krishna, right? The very brain that you use to figure out, what stocks to buy and everything. You know that it's all coming from God. It's Krishna. Therefore, when the box is there, therefore the people come and they want to give, because that's part of their devotional service. And the Prabhupada said the householders are meant, because they actually earn money to support the household, which is fine. But a certain percentage of it, ideally half, that's a lot, in today's economy. I don't know if you can do that. But whatever is possible and feasible, well, one should give for the maintenance of the society. Now Prabhupada, he didn't have that environment, but he was able to organize this book distribution team. And for a long time, that was the main source of income. And it was incredible, because they were able to buy temples and start movement and all this stuff. And Prabhupada's flights, go everywhere. So all of that was given. It's given ultimately by Krishna, but it comes through pious souls, who buy the books and who distribute it, and who also give directly to the movement. So that's one of the qualities of the householders. But it has to be given to the right receiver, Okay. Then as far as Dhamma, or self-control, is concerned, it is not only meant for other orders of religious society, but it is especially meant for the householder. Although he has a wife, a householder should not use his senses for sex life unnecessarily. There are restrictions for the householders, even in sex life, which should be engaged in for the propagation of children. If he does not require children, he should not enjoy sex life with his wife. Now, Prabhupada doesn't mention it here, but elsewhere he said, for the devotees, for the propagation of children who will then become trained in Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada started his Gurukul schools, for that purpose, and hoping, because he had that opportunity from childhood, of course, and so did Bhaktisiddhanta, to be born into a Vaishnava family where from your very birth, just like we had our wonderful experience with Gaurkeshava and his family, And they're at the age where they're really growing. Each time they would come to the temple, I say, Mukunda, you grew an inch. And he sits down, he plays the drum so beautifully, and Vrinda with a, angelic voice, and all of them. They're a very nice example of the household family. So unfortunately, we lost them. They went to Seattle, but as soon as he's able to, if it becomes essential to, because he's very good with the computer, so he's working for Microsoft. So if he really gets essential, then he'll say, I'd like to work from home, and then if he does, he'll come back down here. He likes it here, the deities. Once you get used to Radha and Hari, it's really painful not to. I've been 35 years, never gets boring, beautiful. And you should see the pictures. I'll send them to you. In 2000, I went on the altar and I took some close-ups, which are pretty amazing. So you just write to me, and you can ask me for my poetry. Also, I was going to mention, I have a recording of this whole book, Bhagavad Gita. I recorded it many years ago, yes, complete with purports and everything. And I'm willing to share. I'll send you the link, and you could hear the reading and the chanting of the verses. So, and many other recordings, and Tapas can tell you, all these classes I've been giving for 30 years, they're all on YouTube, or a lot of them are anyway. So you can get those too, if you're interested. Okay, so self-control, that's important in all of these, the ashram, or in all the varnas, but especially the householders in terms of sex. Modern society enjoys sex life with contraceptive methods or more abominable methods to avoid the responsibility of children. This is not in the transcendental quality, but is demoniac. If anyone, even if he's a householder, wants to make progress in spiritual life, he must control his sex life and should not beget a child without the purpose of serving Krishna. If he is able to beget children who will be in Krishna consciousness, one can produce hundreds of children. But without this capacity, one should not indulge only for sense pleasure. So we should remember, sex is not abominable, but unrestrained sex is abominable, and it's sure to degrade you. What does Krishna say? Dharma varuddho bhuteshu kamosmi bhadatarsha. But we heard that in the 7th chapter. I am sex life that is not against the rules and regulations, and Prabhupada is telling what they are. So that's an important understanding. Sacrifice. This is another aspect of grihastha life. Sacrifice is another item to be performed by the householders because sacrifices require a large amount of money. Those in other orders of life, namely brahmacharya, vanaprastha, and sannyas, have no money. They live by begging. So performance of different types of sacrifices is meant for the householders. They should perform agnihotra sacrifices as enjoined in the Vedic literature. But such sacrifices at the present moment are very expensive, and it is not possible for any householder to perform them. The best sacrifice recommended in this age is called Sankirtan Yagya. This Sankirtan Yagya, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the best and most inexpensive sacrifice. Everyone can adopt it and derive benefit. So these 3 items, namely charity, sense control, and performance of sacrifice, are meant for the householders. And obviously, the Hare Krishna sacrifice is meant for everybody, every living householder or not. Then Svadhyaya, Vedic study, is meant for brahmacharya, or student life. Brahmacharis should have no connection with women. They should live a life of celibacy and engage the mind in the study of Vedic literature for cultivation of spiritual knowledge. This is called svadhyaya. Tapas, or austerity, is especially meant for the retired life. One should not remain a householder throughout his whole life. He must always remember that there are 4 divisions of life: brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. So after grihastha, householder life, one should retire. If one lives for 100 years, he should spend 25 years in student life, 25 in householder life, 25 in retired life, and 25 in the renounced order of life. These are the regulations of the Vedic religious discipline. A man retired from household life must practice austerities of the body, mind, and tongue. That is tapasya. The entire varnashram dharma society is meant for tapasya. Without tapasya or austerity, no human being can get liberation. The theory that there is no need of austerity in life, that one can go on speculating and everything will be nice, is recommended neither in the Vedic literature nor in the Bhagavad Gita. Such theories are manufactured by show bottle spiritualists who are trying to gather more followers. If there are restrictions, rules, and regulations, people will not become attracted. Therefore, those who want followers in the name of religion, just to have a show only, don't restrict the lives of their students, nor their own lives, but that method is not approved by the Vedas. So Prabhupada is speaking from experience here, when he was with Dr. Mishra, and so many others. Nobody was talking about these 4 regulations. It was all, you just show up, and you pay a fee, and then you do the Hatha Yoga, and whatever it is, and like that. So, but if you're serious about actually advancing toward perfection of life, then you have to accept the rules and the regulations, just like it says in one verse. Smartavyak sadatam Vishnu vismartavyo najaduchit sava vidi nishedaksyur etayor eva kinkara. So, smartavya means remembering Vishnu and never forgetting him. All the other rules and regulations, vidi and nisheda. Vidi are the do's and nisheda are the don'ts. In anything you want to do, suppose you want to become a champion tennis player, So, okay, great. So you can go out on the court yourself and try to hit the ball. But if you really want to get serious, you go to a teacher, you go to a coach, right? Pay some money, whatever like that. And you get trained up. Don't do this, don't do this, do this, do this. This is how you should hold the thing, like that. So any path you want to take to a goal, there are do's and don'ts. And where do you learn them from? Experienced teachers. So similarly, in bhakti, there are do's and don'ts. And all of them, what this verse says, all of them serve the aim of coming to the point where you can always remember Vishnu or Krishna. Krishna is the original Vishnu, as Prabhupada says in this translation to this verse. And things that you should do to remember Krishna, and things that you should avoid that will help you very much to forget Krishna, like violating the 4 regular principles. So that's what tapasya is all about. Human life is meant for tapasya. I'm listening, every day I listen to a lecture by Prabhupada. I get up real early and then I'm turned on that, and then when I'm doing brushing my teeth, I'm listening. So at one point, I had a great opportunity to work on this. Oh my God! All right, to be continued tomorrow. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari. Sorry about that. Got carried away. We didn't have a chance for a poem, so while we're cleaning up, I'm going to give you a poem. Okay. Sense pleasure is a dream, Krishna supreme. The aim is prem and the way is the name. Just remember that. Or Lord Chaitanya's instruction to Nityananda and Haridas. He said, Bolo Krishna, Bodho Krishna, Koro Krishna Shikha. Just chant Shri Krishna's name and worship him with all your heart. Follow his instructions and to others them impart. That's the essence of the whole Hare Krishna movement. Okay. Now, if I don't put this on, then Mahima will be very angry with me. I always think of the Rath Yatra when I think Mahima, because Lord Chaitanya said when the deity's coming out, Mahima, Mahima. Great. Haribo.